Why does sitting leave your hips feeling stiff, tight, maybe even weak? It's not just about how long you're sitting, it's how you're sitting that's the real problem. So let's break down one of the worst sitting habits that's messing up your hips and mobility and what you can do instead. All right, so let's check this out. Let's start right here. And here is the biggest mistake is and typically it happens when you sit on maybe a soft couch or a soft chair where your hips sink down into whatever you're sitting on, whatever the seat is. So then your knees get above your hip level, your legs start going out to the side. So that starts tightening up the hip flexors, the rotators that are in your hips back here. And it might look comfortable, but after a while, and not even after a while, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes, you start to get stiffness in the muscles, in the joints, in the tissues. So then when you get up to move, now again, you feel stiff, you feel tight. The muscles get weak from being in these deactivated positions. And what also happens, which I'll link to a video here, is what happens to the low back in this type of sitting position and just sitting in general. So I'll link to that so you can watch that video. But typically, this is, again, it's a very common posture that people get in. A couple more examples, more sad faces where, again, it might look comfortable, but it's not. Hips are below the knees. I'll show you what to do to counteract this, but we want to get the hips up and we want to keep, to where we're not sinking down, tightening up the hip flexors, tightening up the rotators of the hips, deactivating the glute muscles. Again, a couple more examples, and I want to point this one out, especially here in a second. But this one is a little better because the knees are level with the hips, but you see he's slumped back. I mean, he's in a slump type position. His feet are flat on the floor, which is good as well. Same thing here. This is a better position, a more firm type seat, but you still see that the hips are below the knees. And he's sitting up taller, which I like this. There's no back on this seat, which I tend to like and prefer because then you're doing more of an active type sitting. You could even make this into more of a stretch by spreading out the feet, widening them so the knees are farther apart, feet are farther apart, sitting up straight, and actually even just arching your low back and leaning forward, keeping the natural arch of your low back, and you'll even feel a stretch in the inner thigh muscles. So as even a break if you are sitting, but obviously if you're taking a break from sitting, you just want to get up and move around. So here is a much better position. Looking at this from the side, feet are on the floor. The hips are, almost above knee level. She's not leaning back against the chair, which will cause a slumping and slouching part of in the spine, especially the low back. The hips are, I want to say more engaged because you're sitting, but your body is more engaged by you using your effort. I don't want to say effort. It doesn't take much effort once you train yourself on how to do this, but instead of leaning back. Now, you could even lift yourself up more, put a pillow or a blanket or a pad underneath here to lift the hips up more. But in general, like more firm or firmer chairs or seats, whatever you're sitting on, are a better option because you're not sinking down into them like you were a soft couch or a soft chair of some sort of lazy boy type chair. So, I mean, don't even pay attention to the computer. I liked this image here because it shows, just to get a simple pad on the seat. You could even have something, a little platform for your feet to rest on, especially if you're not tall enough to reach the floor. Here, there's a lumbar support, a low back support. I would prefer not even using that because it causes you to lean against it and it might not put your spine into a great position. But in general, here, if you're just looking at the hips, this is a much better position for the hips to open them up so you're not feeling so stiff and tight when you get up. Now, obviously, if you sit for too long, that's going to have a big effect. You want to try to get up every, you know, ideally every 20 minutes if you can, but 30 minutes at a minimum. At it, I guess maybe it's not the minimum. If I'm going to say at a minimum, every hour, get up and move around, get up, stretch out, and get out of this sitting type position, whether it's in the perfect position possible or you're in that slump position. Now, if you want actual help on know how to approach these everyday postures, these everyday activities that you are doing, whether it's bending, sitting, lifting, walking, and all the different activities that those postures come into play, then definitely take a look at this. I'll provide a link in the description for this everyday posture plan, how to adjust your lifestyle to make movement easy and pain-free, smoother, safer, so then you can do it without a problem. And this, why I include this here is sitting is one of these everyday movements, everyday activities that we do. And so that's why I wanted to supply this with you. This also goes into 2 foundational movements that make all these different activities and movements much easier that I cover in the everyday posture plan, as well as loads of different activities and how to make them safer. So take a look at that. I'll provide that there and then also in the comments. So click on that, get the everyday posture plan, and implement these tips that I've given you today, and that will help you be your own guarantee for your health and your life. All right, talk to you soon.